Readers, our next book today is Mammy on the Mound, A Woman in Baseball's Negro Leagues by Leah Henderson, illustrated by George Busopoulos. Mammy on the Mound, A Woman in Baseball's Negro Leagues. Mamie Johnson stepped on the mound to pitch in one of the first Negro League games. She knew she was ready. She was the first female pitcher in professional baseball. Even if others doubted a woman could pitch to the fellas, she didn't. How do you expect to strike anyone out and you're not as big as a peanut? An opposing batter yelled. Only 5 feet 4 inches tall and barely 120 pounds, Mammy smirked. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. The batter found himself back on the bench quickly, but the name Peanut stuck. And on that day in 1953, another individual realized not to underestimate Mammy Peanut Johnson. Mammy Johnson had been about 6 years old when her Uncle Leo, who was close in age, started teaching her all he knew about baseball. Mammy took to the sport right away, only complaining to her grandma whenever the boys wouldn't let her play. Mammy didn't want to watch from the bleachers with other girls in their Sunday best and white shoes. She wanted to be on the mound, her pitcher's mitt snug around her fingers. Girls at that time weren't often encouraged to be athletes, but Mammy's family supported her love of the game. They always told her to follow her heart. Mammy grew up running over bases made of broken flower pots and pie plates and sliding to reach home, a lid from a 5-gallon can of king syrup. Swinging a tree limb for a bat, she knocked homemade balls of stone wrapped with twine and masking tape. That's how Mammy got her start in baseball, playing with the boys in Ridgeway, South Carolina, on her family's 80-acre farm. When Mammy was about 10, her grandmother passed away, and Mammy moved from the rural South to the North. While her mother worked hard to buy a house for the family in Washington, D.C., Mammy was sent to live with her aunt and uncle in Long Beach, New Jersey. Although her school was no longer filled with black faces, Mammy was okay. She had little trouble at her previously all-white school, or she had little trouble at her previously all-white school, because she knew, as she later told it, hey, I'm just as smart as you. Mammy's confidence walked step by step with her ability to play baseball. She knew she was good as, if not better than, any opponent she encountered. She just needed to be given the chance to prove it. She knew people took one look at her and doubted her ability, but that was all right with Mammy. Their doubts only strengthened her secret weapon. Over and over again, she proved them wrong with her strong right arm. In Long Branch, I think I might have said Long Beach earlier. My bad. In Long Branch, Mammy tried playing softball with the girls, but never took to it. Instead, she played catch with Leo, but she wanted more. After school one day, she took a shortcut home and came across a group of boys playing ball in a sandlot. They were on a police athletic league team. Mammy wanted to join. remembering the words of her grandma, "The good Lord helps those who help themselves." Mammy marched into the police station and asked for the opportunity to try out. Even though the Long Branch Police Athletic League was an all white, all boys league, the coach of the team gave Mammy the chance to try. Some of the boys may have snickered or laughed at first, but when she stepped up on the mound and let the ball fly from her strong right arm, they realized she was there to play. During her time on the team, she helped her teammates win 2 division championships. The more Mammy played baseball, the better she got and the more she wanted to play. She realized, however, that she already had 2 strikes against her. 1, she was a girl, and 2, she was black. The black boy's not even playing, so I know I'm not gonna make it, she huffed. For the first time, her dream of being a professional baseball player began to dim. Then, on April 15th, 1947, all that changed. Jackie Robinson, a black man, joined Major League Baseball. Could Mammy actually have only 1 strike against her? Robinson, Jackie, played first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers. If Jackie could break the color line and become Major League Baseball's first black player, Mammy could break the gender line. You can do this too, she told herself. Once again, her dream brightened. At age 11, Mammy moved to Washington, D.C. to live with her mother. After graduating from high school, she continued playing sandlot baseball on local semi pro men's teams. Then one day, her teammate and friend, Rita Jones, told Mammy the All American Girls Professional Baseball League was having tryouts near them. We can do this, they told each other, and they took a bus across the bridge to Alexandria, Virginia. Ready to prove they deserved spots, they hopped off the bus and raced to the ball field to join hundreds of other girls and women eager to try out. Mammy and Rita quickly realized, however, that they weren't getting past the foul lines. A field full of white players stared at them. Even though Mammy and Rita had their gloves and looked ready to play like everyone else, it didn't matter. I guess we better go, Mammy said, staring back. I don't think we're wanted here. Rita agreed, and they left. Even with Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball a few years before, the All American Girls Professional Baseball League wasn't ready to give black women the opportunity to try. All was still not equal. They think I'm not as good, Mammy said. She shook the thought away, knowing it wasn't true. She was as good as any player on that team. Prejudice wasn't going to stop her from playing the game she loved. In fact, being refused that chance opened up an even greater opportunity to Mammy. You want to play pro baseball? Bish Tyson, a former Negro League player, called to her one day, or called her. No, well, I was right. Called to her one day. Mammy gave a chuckle like he'd asked if the sky was above her. Yeah, she answered. Go to the Dunbar Hotel tomorrow in your uniform and ask for Mr. Bunny Downs, he said. Mammy didn't think twice or ask any questions. After a brief meeting at the hotel the next day, she tried out in a nearby field. She wasn't scared. She was ready. She'd been practicing her entire life. Now she had the chance to prove she belonged. The following day, she quit her job at a local ice cream shop and slipped away from her mother and her new family, a husband and a baby soon. Mammy was headstrong, and no one, not even her baby boy, was going to stop her. She was joining the Indianapolis Clowns for 2 months of bus baseball, going from town to town on a bus filled with men, playing double headers and triple headers against any team willing to play them. Wasn't always the easiest, but Mammy didn't care. At age 19, her dream was coming true. She was playing pro baseball. The only other female player on the Indianapolis Clowns, a second baseman named Tony Stone, had joined the team a year before. The women had signed to the Negro Leagues at a time when many of its best players, Willie Mays, Ernie Banks, Larry Doby, Hank Aaron, Satchel Paige, and others, were leaving for the brighter lights of the major leagues. Unfortunately, fans and sports writers followed the stars, making it harder for Black teams to survive. Empty seats in the stadiums meant empty wallets for team owners and players. Like the three circus clowns who traveled with their team, Mammy and Tony knew they were hired to draw curious fans, but the women didn't do any clowning. Tony was ready to catch and hit. Mammy was ready to throw a fastball, circle change, slider, a screwball, or curveball. They weren't passing up their opportunity. I'm here to play ball. I ain't here to do nothing else but play ball, Mammy said. And I'm going to show you I can play just as good as you. At first, the male players looked at Mammy like she was too small. They grumbled about sharing the field with her, Tony, and later Connie Morgan, a second baseman who played with the Clowns after Tony was traded. But like every other time, Mammy was ready to prove she belonged. Some of the players were slow to understand that the women were part of the team now. Mr. Downs, the Clowns manager, set the players straight. If y'all think you can't handle that, he said, pointing to the girls, we'll take you down to the bus station tomorrow. We'll get someone who can go along with the program. The men may have laughed at first, but they knew Mr. Downs was serious. These girls are putting money in your pocket, Mr. Downs said. Think about that. And the girls can play. So treat the girls right. Treat them like they're one of you. That's all I ask you to do. That is exactly what the men did as soon as Mammy's fastball whizzed over home plate. After she won their first game together, she had little trouble from her teammates. They became 26 brothers on the road with her. Life with the Clowns wasn't just about hitting balls and striking players out, or cracking jokes and playing cards on the bus. In some places, it was about whites only water fountains, whites only service at restaurants, and whites only hotels. It was about 10 p.m. curfews for Black men, closed locker rooms, closed concession stands, and closed bathrooms for Black players and Black fans. It meant being on the bus for 3 or 4 days in sweaty uniforms. Even if white people came to see them play or even competed against them, Mamie and her teammates weren't always welcome to eat or sleep in their towns in the segregated South of the Jim Crow era. The buses took the players far and wide. During Mamie's first year with the Clowns, they traveled across the country and into Canada. Living out of a suitcase wasn't always comfortable, but in some towns, local Black families would take Mamie, Tony, and Connie in. They'd get a warm meal and a bed for the night, while the male players were left to sleep in dingy hotels or under the stars. But if asked, Mammy never let the hard times bother her too much. She persisted. She would say, "Don't emphasize the hardness of it," because she and the other players were doing what they wanted to do, playing the game they loved. She and her teammates filled the stands at Kaminsky Park and Yankee Stadium, even when white ball clubs couldn't. Watched by cheering fans, Peanut often pitched 7, 8, or 9 innings and struck out many of her opponents. Even though baseball was all she ever wanted to do, her dream did have a limit. The major leagues weren't ready to give her or any other woman a chance to play. So during the off season, Mammy studied engineering and nursing at New York University and later in North Carolina. For her, there were dreams beyond baseball. Mammy loved nothing more than winding up, firing away from the mound, and striking out batters. She built an impressive 33-8 record during her 3 seasons with the Clowns. She may have been small, but she had a strong right arm and used it to follow her heart, becoming the first female pitcher in professional baseball history. When Mammy stepped off the mound in 1955 to return to her family, she never strayed far from baseball, the game she would always love. I was a ball player. This is what I was, and this is the way I want to be known. A ball player. Mamie Peanut Johnson, 1935 till 2017. Afterward, after Mamie left the sport, she received a nursing degree from North Carolina A&T. Then she went home to Washington, D.C. to raise her young son. There, she was a licensed practical nurse for nearly 30 years. During President Bill Clinton's time in office, he and the First Lady Hillary Clinton honored Mammy at the White House as a female baseball legend. In 2013, President Barack Obama also recognized her and other Negro League players for their accomplishments. Mammy attended various functions around the country where she could reminisce about what she called the 3 best years of her life. Long after her professional days, Mammy continued playing sandlot baseball, using the curveball that Negro League All-Star and Major League pitcher Satchel Paige helped her perfect. One of her greatest joys after leaving the game was coaching whenever she could. She even started the Mamie Johnson Little League in 2015. Underestimating no one, she encouraged all her players to follow their heart. Mamie Johnson helped clear the plate for pitchers such as Erie Yoshida, Tiffany Brooks, Isla Borders, and Moni Davis, and will always be remembered just as she wanted to be as a baseball player.